Hour 2 Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Haziodog, Jeff O'Neill, Jason Strudwick. Big hour here. Mike Johnson coming up here in a few moments. Confirm or deny, a.k.a. Strud or Dud, in half an hour. So we look forward to that.
Need this weather to go away ASAP.
Yeah, it's so depressing when it was so nice here a week ago.
Dude, you thought, like, Strud, how far away from golf are you out in Edmonton?
We're flirting with it. We're flirting. I bet you 2-3 weeks, man, I'll have the old wrenches out.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Yeah, well, that's the plan, but you look at the 14-day forecast, it's like 3 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees.
We need a bunch
Garbage.
of 10s and 15s,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
You got to give me a week of 10 plus. Then you can get outside, you can start doing things. Things start growing a little bit.
I am jacked up for golf, man. I didn't slight you a little bit, but I got all dolled up in Peter Millar stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to say, my style is not the same as, like, I'm more of a distinct.
Do you think you're more stylish on the golf
I
course?
didn't
Is that what you're
say
saying
that.
to me?
I just said
go.
me and
Okay.
Strud. I just had to say we go about it different. We're different golfers, and we like it. Let's have a Peter Millar off on Friday.
I will have a Millar off whenever you want.
We'll have a poll. Who did it better?
Done. Happy
Who hits
to.
it deeper? Which one of you two guys hits
O
it
can
deeper?
hit the ball further than I can. Like that. That's not really a debate.
Struddy, there's only one way this guy competes. His first comments on the first tee are, "How many shots do I get?"
Yeah,
and he
but-
licks his chops. And
Absolutely.
says, that's what I need.
If your cap is dialed in, my cap's dialed in, I can take you down. Not all the time, but that's the beauty of the cap system, right, Strud? It's the great
100%.
equalizer.
So what is it, a stroke a hole? Is that what you're at?
No,
Is that what we're
not
looking
that
at?
many. No, you. What do you give
It's
me?
probably
4?
a 9-pack.
Yeah, it's probably like 4 aside.
Okay.
You know, it's something like that. It's probably 8 or 9 strokes. But you put that type of number in play, I show up and play, you got no shot. Like, you know that. Like, if I'm getting 8 or 9 strokes and I'm capable of shooting a 77, 78, you're
Dude, I
toast.
deal with this on a regular. I just don't know why you can't man up and say, "Let's just play golf."
But
straight."
why? That's the whole point. Would you do that with Scotty Scheffler right now? Like, if you were playing Scotty Scheffler right now for money, would you just say, "Hey, stroke play, Scotty"? He'd laugh at you and say, "Dude, I'm going to shoot a 65 and you're going to get dusted."
Dude, I did it. I did it in Carolina with a tour player. Okay, Dudley Hart. Ray Shepard was buddies with Dudley Hart, and we went to a course and played. And I said to Dudley, "Let's have a 9-hole match." He said, "How many shots do you want?" I said, 0. I took him down on 18 with a birdie. That's
You're
how you
kidding me.
Dude, I swear to God.
Dudley.
Get Ray Shepard on the phone.
Okay. I
Get
wanna
Dudley
hear
Hart
from-
on the phone.
I want to
Is
hear
he
from
caddy?
Dudley Hart.
Was he a caddy? Like, was he
Dude,
actually
he's
on the tour?
Dudley Hart was
Which tour? The Hooters tour? It wasn't the PGA tour.
dude. Google Doogie.
Dudley
Google
Hart. I've never heard of that guy
North
in my life.
Dakota Winter Tour.
Yeah, exactly. The Midwest Hooter
You're
tour.
being disrespectful. Dudley Hart was an established tour pro.
Dudley Hart.
Mouth of the
Dudley
South.
Hart
Was
has
he?
won on tour.
Okay. I challenge
Which
that.
tour?
Challenge flag. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not
Dudley
sure.
Hart. There he is. Okay. Let me quickly look this up. No, he's actually not bad. Yeah, he's got 2 wins on tour.
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
Dudley
wow.
Hart.
Actually, he won the
Dud.
RBC Canadian Open. At that point, it was the Bell Canadian Open.
How could you be
In
so
96.
disrespectful? Canadian
My
Open
bad.
winner.
Why don't we get Dudley Hart up this year? Get him up to Osprey
Yeah.
Valley. Get him out to TPC. We got to get Dudley Hart in the Pro-Am at TPC Toronto.
Dude, he's not playing anymore.
But he
How drunk
could be
was
an
he?
honorary captain, right, Strud? I like the
I
idea
agree.
of bringing up duds.
How many beers did he have in this round? One a hole?
Dude, there was not one beer
That's a
had in
good
the whole
question,
round.
too. Was
There
he
not-
buckled?
Something happened.
No.
Was he playing
Something.
left-handed?
Dude, nothing happened. I just said to him,
He
let's
used a
have a
rake.
9-hole match.
You know where this
He
guy
had to
lives?
hand me over 20.
He's from Rochester. He lives in Buffalo. Get this. We got to get a match
Make
with
it
this
happen.
guy. Get Ray Shepard on the line.
I
Tell him
guarantee
to
you
connect
he
with
does not
Dudley.
live in Buffalo full time. He would be down in South Florida.
I mean, Wikipedia is always right.
Accurate.
Always accurate. And it says that he is born in Rochester, New York, and his current residence is Buffalo, New York. He might be he might be with Noodles tonight. He could be watching the Sens and the Sabres. He could be right behind Noodles, staring at his bald spot right behind the bench tonight. He could be doing that.
River Ridge. That's where I took him down.
Okay.
Carolina.
All
River
right.
Ridge.
Okay. Dudley Hart. Howard Dudley Hart. I'm going to talk to some people at Golf Canada, TPC Toronto. I'm going to get the wheels in motion. We got to get him up to Osprey Valley. And you got to challenge him again. Wow. And we'll play it outright. I'll caddy.
You got to hear his story, though. His side of the story.
Yes.
Like, probably, I was hungover. I was not feeling good. Pulled my back.
Dude, he better have been feeling good. He was playing the Greater Greensboro Open a couple days later. He was looking to tee it before the tournament.
Wow. And that could not have been good for his confidence if he lost to you.
Dude, it was a 9-hole match. You guys are making a big deal.
I know. But still, a professional should never lose to a scratch golfer.
Yeah,
you're a good player, but you brought it up. You couldn't wait to bring that one up. I bring the gravy up. I've never heard this Dudley Hart story. I've never heard anything about you beating Dudley Hart.
I know for a fact that I have brought that story up before. Dude, 10 years on the radio, I've brought that up before.
I don't recall ever hearing that name before, Dudley Hart. Okay, what do we got? We got Johnny coming up here in a moment. Okay, he's calling the game tonight, Leafs Flyers. We'll get to that. We got a bunch of games tonight. See, Jakob Chychrun got an 8-year deal in Washington, $9 million per season. To me, this seems incredibly rich. And it just feels like a scenario. I credit the player. Great for him. Awesome. He's had a remarkable season. Everything's going in. Everything's going right for Washington. But I don't know where you stand on this, Strud. Were you expecting a Jakob Chychrun 8-year, $72 million deal?
Well, you see the number and you see the years and you're doing the math in your head because you know it. In my mind, it wasn't 9. I'm like, what's 8 times 8? What's 8 times 7? 8 times. You're going through it. You're like, oh my God, he got $9 million a year.
Right.
Well, I think obviously the cap going up inflates it a bit. But I don't know. That's a big number, a really, really big number. But maybe we should just become used to it. There's a guy in Edmonton, Evan Bouchard, who's probably very happy today to see that from Chychrun.
Yeah. Well, what do you think Bouchard's gonna he hasn't had a great year based on his standards.
Doesn't matter, man. His number's going to start at 9. That was the going rate for a stud defenseman 3 years ago when Dougie, top 50 Dougie signed. Mm-hmm. I mean, Cale Makar was in it. Oh, yeah. It was it was the going rate, 9.
Well, now, the top dog, I think, is Doughty or Carlson at $11 million.
That's
right
correct.
For defensemen. Here's Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. What should be the ceiling, I guess, for defensemen? Let's say Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar were free agents on July 1st. What kind of cap hit number do you think they'd get?
For a full length term?
Yeah.
For 7 or 8 years? Geez, it's going to be $14 or $15 million.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be up there right now. That's the nature of where the cap is headed, which is why it's going to be hard to sign those kind of players super long term, because it almost takes us to a number that seems unreasonable in the shorter term. But you guys are right. I like to think I'm quite accurate at projecting contracts. And so I heard Chychrun sign. I'm like, 7 times 7.5? Something like that?
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah. Johnny, would he have said no? If they offered that, would he have said absolutely not? I'm insulted by that. It's been a great fit, but it just seems like that wasn't there in Arizona, that wasn't there in Ottawa, and all of a sudden that's what he is, and it just seems like to be jumping the gun a little bit as good a player as he is.
Yeah, I mean, you fall in love with the situation if you're Washington. Obviously, everything's done so well for them this year. But the challenge for Chychrun is not necessarily when he's healthy and right, is if he's a good player. I think he's shown that he is that. He just has sometimes an issue staying healthy and right. And he's a guy who, he's got the weird taking care of his body routines, but he's very dialed into how he feels. And a little bit like Freddie Anderson, when he's still good, it's incredible. But when he doesn't feel good, it affects him. So that would be my concern going 8 years for him. How many of those years will he be relatively healthy the entire time, especially as he gets older? But Struddy said it. We just have to continually, quickly adjust our scale higher. We can't say that guy's not a $7 million player, because what we think of a $7 million player is actually a $9 million. It's just where it's going. And Struddy will know more about it than most the next little while with trying to get McDavid signed. What's he going to be worth if he goes 8 years? They can't even pay him enough money. He's not even allowed to get the 20% number. Is not high enough to get him on an 8-year contract. That's the nature of a cap that's going to be going up $10 million a year.
Yeah, it's incredible. And defensemen, their contracts have not matched, the number one, superstar center has always been the pace car. And that likely continues with McDavid. Draisaitl's up there. Matthews is up there. But you look at these defensemen, like last night, Quinn Hughes plays over 31 minutes last night. This
He's
guy,
so good, Hayes.
it's
Very
unbelievable
good.
how good he is. And like that was such a big win for them. And then down the road, Werenski played 33 minutes last night, and Columbus won a massive game in pursuit of a playoff spot. Like between the two of them, they played over an hour last night in the greater New York area.
But dude, back in the day, Chris Pronger and Nick Lidstrom did that on the nightly.
Well, and there's no clutching and grabbing, and it's not a slow game. I mean, not that it was a slow game back then, but it's so fast now, Johnny, and these guys are just, they're so good.
Yeah, and so there might be, obviously there's two defenders who have separated themselves from everyone, right? That's Cale Makar, that's Quinn Hughes. Those two, I think they take themselves out of the rest of the group because of what they can do, the fact that they can impact the game offensively, they can play so much. So those guys should, and I imagine will, be dragged to the very highest of numbers in a couple of years when their contracts are up. And part of the reason why Colorado towed the line so hard on Rantanen, because they know the car's coming. He's going to be a $15 million player, $16 million, $17. Like you don't know when the cap's $130 million in a few years. Werenski, he's getting there. He's certainly having that kind of year this year. But there's not that many number one defensemen who can do both, right? Both shut it down defensively, kill penalties, play against their team's best line, but also drive offense, score 20-plus goals every year, get 85, 90 points. There's only a few, but those two guys, you're right, they should no longer be stunted relative to the offensive players. They should probably, like, talk about value. Can you imagine Columbus without Werenski? I mean, he should get Hart Trophy votes this year for what he's done in Columbus.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal.
He's been incredible. Johnny, you talked about those numbers. Like, do you think there's going to be pushback from teams? I mean, we've already who knows what's going on behind the scenes in Toronto. But if players are asking for these amounts that you have just mentioned, like 15, 16, 17, are teams going to say you're going to have to get that somewhere else? Or, like, is there going to be any pushback where it's like, I'm not sure about that?
For sure. But I mean, I think nobody wants to get into a percentage of cap conversation right now. But it's a very easy argument to make. If you're a 10% player today, you're a $8.8 million player, right? If you're a 10% player 4 years from now, you're a $12 million player. That's just, it's not about dollars, it's about value to the team. If you're the exact same player in the exact same situation, and it's hard for a team to convince me, oh, no, we still got to pay you $8. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
That's not how
that's a good way to put it. I've never really thought about it like that.
So, and the other problem is, yes, like Jeff O'Neill's team, he's like, sorry, dude, we don't pay dude $14 million. You're not worth it. Problem is, Mike Johnson's team says, oh, yes, we do. And then you holding the line is useless because you're losing good players that you would otherwise want to keep. They're just going elsewhere for a number you don't want to pay.
Yeah, but what if I have a couple $8 million players that are really good and I have depth and I can get it done and you don't because you want to blow your brains out on $17 million players?
But it's still just a percentage, right? Like I think we also have to reset our mind to say this is now where it's at. Like, look at NFL quarterbacks, the amount they make. So I think you just have to reset and say what was once X is now X plus 30 or 40%.
Okay, let me give you an example, Struddy, because your boy here just said, you know what? That's the percentage, and that's what you got to pay a guy. Danny Dimes said, you got to pay me $45 million, and they did it, and look what they got. But if you just say, that's what we got to pay you, that's what you're going to get. Trash.
Yeah,
Well, it's all leverage, right? Like, is Edmonton going to say that to Connor McDavid? Sorry, man. We're going to go 15 and nowhere else, right?
No,
like,
but if some guy that's not towing the line and
leverage,
putting up stats and performing in the playoffs or regular season and just says, I'm a 10%er guy, you got to give me this, there's certain situations where you can say, go stuff it.
Yeah,
but the top guys,
you got to pick your spots. Yeah. We started this conversation with Jakob Chychrun, who we all acknowledge is a nice defender, just signed for 9 or 72 without batting an eye, and the cap hasn't gone anywhere yet. The cap is still the same, although it's going places. You know what I mean? Like, he's not walking into a cap world of 120. 3-4 years, like it's this is where it's going to be headed. Now, there will always be an argument. Would you be better off taking that $14 million, find 2 good players for 7, and give your team a better chance of winning? That goes to roster construction philosophy. That conversation is very much in play. But the scary part, $7 million player in 3 years
is a 13-goal scorer.
it's going to be Bobby McMahon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like maybe 7 might be like somebody like that. You're like, that guy's not moving the needle. 2 of those guys are not going to win us the cup either. So this is just the new reality. You just got to get used to it.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, and we've seen it in other sports, right? The numbers these guys are getting, and hockey's slower.
Shreddy, right?
Yeah, like, basketball. I mean, football. It's crazy. I mean, the numbers are crazy, but and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's just the math. It's just math. That's all it is. Once you get to a certain point. Johnny, we'll shift gears a little bit, looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs and their situation. So, who do you look at to kind of got to find their game this last stretch as they head towards what they're hoping is, if not first, at least second in their own division?
All right, so there's basically 2 situations that I would identify, Struddy, that are sort of paramount for the Leafs. The one is the obvious one, and that is the third line, and they've talked about it an awful lot. They traded for Scott Laughton. They gave up a first-rounder. We all know that. Fully understanding and sympathetic to the significant adjustment in his life that is going on and the pressure he's feeling here in Toronto. But they have to figure out, is this guy better than what he's shown? How do we get this guy looking like the guy we think he's supposed to be in this team? How do we get our third line with whatever combination of personnel to be a viable, we're playing Tampa in the first round, we need a third line we can trust in most situations and not just hide and hope? How do we work that out? Starting tonight, they got Laughton on the wing, Domi in the middle, Nick Robertson on the other side. I don't know if that's it, but that's number one. Number 2 is, while the numbers have actually been very good for Carlo and Riley, I'm going to call them the second pair now for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Brandon Carlo has come in. He actually has done very much what he's supposed to do, which is steady Eddie, tilt the ice, good underlying numbers, and not get scored against, and don't worry about points, just have the puck on the offensive end. He's done that, but I still think Morgan Riley is, if he can elevate his play just a little bit and make that pair that much better, the Morgan Riley we saw when they beat Tampa a few years ago in the playoffs, if those 2 things sort themselves out, they will be the favorites to win the series, whether it starts at home or on the road in the first round. And if they don't, they're probably the underdog. Like, that's how tight the series will be, and that's how important those 2 situations are to me.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I think like that's a really in the weeds answer, which we live in the weeds. But I think, like, and what I mean by that is, like, on a micro level, you got to have a third line. What's going to happen with that second pairing? But I come back on a macro level and say, are the best players going to be good enough, and will the goalie play well enough? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but that doesn't need to change. That just needs to be proven.
I understand that. I understand. You know, that's not what you're being asked. But in terms of the big picture,
right? Like, Stolar's got to be good. Well, obviously, but he has been good. Does he have to be good in the playoffs? Of course. This is not keys to winning. This is what they got to answer down the stretch. Keys to winning is always a goalie who's not played much in the playoffs. I imagine if the playoffs started tomorrow, Stolarz would be the guy. That's a question for sure. He's never done it, and like you said, and like we've always said, getting the big guys. And Austin actually in the last week has looked fresher, sprier, quicker than he has at times this year, which is great news for the Maple Leafs. Can those guys get it done in the playoffs at 5-on-5 and be the difference makers winning a series? That's what it's going to boil down to. But I think they already know that. And they sort of know what those guys look like already to see if it will or won't. The question is just, will it or won't it?
Johnny, you mentioned Matthews, fresher, quicker, spry, however you want to describe it. How do you handicap the chances that can continue until the end of the season? And if they're going to do what they want to do a long time after that? Mini Jerry.
Mini Jerry. I don't know. Is it 50-50? Maybe 70-30 that it doesn't. Because if it was like a will to do it, he's obviously so good he would have done it previously, right?
Yeah.
Like if it was just like a mental thing, I got to play harder, he would have done that. I don't think it's that. If it's a physical thing, like he's feeling physically better or he's gotten treatment that allows him to move better, okay, does that last for 3 months? I don't know. If it does, why didn't they do it earlier? Or maybe they can't do it that many times. Or is it just a week where his body's feeling better after months of his body not feeling quite perfect? I guess I'm leery of, given how long this has lingered for him, which is like literally since training camp, that it's all of a sudden going to fix itself while playing through the hardest part of the season. I'm glad it has for him and for the Maple Leafs, But I guess I'm not positive it's going to stay that way because just the medicine behind it, without knowing what's wrong with him, it seems unlikely that all of a sudden he turned the corner in March 10th and is like, oh, I'm feeling better now, when he hadn't been able to turn that same corner with all the stuff he's been through this year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a topic of discussion between now and the playoffs, still a month away. With Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, Leafs Flyers tonight. You know, the third line is a topic of discussion on a daily basis. And you mentioned Laughton's there with Domi and Robertson. Do you think they're committed to this top six? Like, do you think Berube is just committed? It's going to be Nyes, Matthews, Marner, McMahon, Tavares, Nylander? Or do you still think he may be open to the idea of mixing some of the pieces up and trying to spread the wealth a little bit?
Like who?
Well, I don't know. Do you
100% not committed to Bobby McMahon being there all the time.
Okay. And McMahon's interchangeable, but could you see a scenario where Nylander moves down? They tried it before, and he quickly reverted and put him back with Tavares. Could you see a scenario where maybe does Tavares move down to the third line and you move Laughton up or Domi up and they stay with those wingers, McMahon and Nylander? Like, I'm not holding my breath because it's game 71 tonight, and that hasn't really happened. He's been fairly committed. But do you think that's a possibility, and do you think that would be wise to try to spread it out a little bit to try to balance out your top three lines?
I mean, there's always a possibility, as you mentioned. It is far less likely that those guys change at this point in the year heading to the playoffs. Now, you get to the playoffs, who knows? It goes poorly, all bets are off. They may do anything. But I think the plan is those five guys are those five guys. And the first line is going to stay, and Tavares and Nylander are going to stay. And they better hope Nylander is just outrageously good, which he largely has been, to help drive that line at 5-on-5. Now, McMahon could swap for Domi. McMahon could swap for Laughton. McMahon, like that sixth spot could go to any number of players, depending on what you're trying to get out of the second line, what you're getting out of the third line. But I don't think, Hayes, that it's going to be likely, unless something strange happens, and it's probably a bad sign if it goes down that road. I think this is a team. This is how they built it. This is how they plan on running it, for better, for worse. And I don't see, you could put Willie down there, but Willie and Max, I don't know. Like, I don't see really natural fits to spread them out through three lines and expecting it to be significantly better.
Johnny, what is the identity, though, that Craig is looking for in that third line?
He wants energy, speed, a bit of physicality, and you'd like them to be able to play with the puck a little bit, but mostly just energy and add pace to the game and give problems with your pace and your kind of willingness to battle around the puck. And Robertson is smaller, but he's been actually doing that. As he gets around it. Now he's the smallest. You'd like him to be the third of the three guys doing it, not the first of the three guys. But if Laughton and Domi can bring that, then I think that's what they're looking for. He understands, like, they're not going to score a bundle, but still, Nick Robertson in his weird year is scoring at around a 20-goal pace. Max Domi, we know he hates scoring goals. He only wants assists, and Laughton's trying to figure out his game here. But could they all score at a 15-goal pace at 5-on-5? If you do that, that's a goal every other game, right? 45 goals, that's a goal every other game. If that line scores 2 or 3 goals in a 7-game series, that's all you're looking for. The way this team's built, that's all you're looking for when it comes with the energy and the irritation and the in-your-face, and that's the identity he's looking for. Whether they have it, whether it's in them, whether they can do it, I guess they're trying to figure it out, maybe even starting tonight, but that's what they're looking for, Struddy.
We have Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst. Feels like a big game for Scott Laughton tonight, like against his former team. Doesn't he? Does it ever? He's got to have a game tonight.
I think it's important for him because it hasn't gone his way. Like, don't show your team. Like, don't be yucking it up with your boys and, bro hugs in the hallway. Like, just get to business and knock someone on their ass and, deal with the demons tonight and move on. Because if you see a guy that hasn't been getting it done,
grab Travis Konechny and say, no, we're not friends right now.
That's it.
I'm showing you and me and my new team, I'm in this new team. There's no more orange. I got no orange sneakers on. I'm with you. And you guys are so right. Like, the topic of conversation this morning was him, and there's been lots of articles written about his emotional departure, and I get it. We all sort of understand what that's like. But I also the reality of our business is it's been...
Time limit on everything.
Time limit on everything, including the grace of our understanding And I get it, like family, kids, all of it. Like we all understand it. But yeah, given that it's his former team, it would be the perfect night to turn the page, find the closure in your mind and in your heart, and just, get comfortable with the new guys and show them what you can do, and then springboard yourself down the stretch. Like that is 100% the hope. Because if it doesn't happen tonight, you're like, well, come on, man. Like bring it tonight. You're really hoping for him that he can.
Johnny, I think the most important thing for him to do is narrow the focus. And that's what I would tell him if I sat down beside him. You don't have to think about being traded to the Leafs and being a key part to them getting it done and being traded for a first-round draft pick. Just narrow the focus to, I want to score a goal tonight, or I want to be the hardest working player on the ice, or I want to be the best penalty killer, and just stop trying to think of everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks and put it all out on the ice at the same time. Just really try to narrow the focus, and if he starts there, he should have success.
So, different situation, but same story. My very first game of my career, obviously college kid, not drafted. I don't know anything about the NHL. I'm nervous as you can't even imagine. And Larry Murphy doesn't even know my name, literally doesn't know my name. He sits down beside me in the locker room. I'm terrified. I'm near tears. I can't talk to anyone. I'm so nervous. And he just said, hey, kid, because he doesn't, first of all, I'm 23, but I'm, hey, kid. He just looked at me calmly and said, whatever it is that got you here, just do that. You'll be fine. And it was the most freeing moment of my hockey career, maybe. A 3-second throwaway comment by a Hall of Famer, to me, allowed me to park everything you're talking about. Narrow the focus. Just do what you do and forget all the other noise and the circumstance and all of it. And it's amazing because everyone is, like Scott Laughton is here to be good for a reason because he can play a certain way. If he can just get out of his own way, which is what Murph allowed me to do, then he'll give himself the best chance. So you're exactly right. However you want to say it to him, we bring in Murph if you wanted to, because he was, it was life-changing. His 5 seconds. It was unbelievable for me.
Or was the pitcher, like Kevin Costner, he'd say in that one movie, he's like, clear the mechanism, man. Just narrow the focus, clear the mechanism. You'll be dialed in.
But don't you think you're trying to do too much?
I like it.
It's hard. I remember playing against my old team the first time, and you're trying to do so much. You're trying to be someone you're not. And I was like, that's not who I am. So I got back to running guys and being dirty, and all of a sudden your game starts flowing again from there.
Perfect.
Yeah, it feels like he wants to strip a puck, hit a guy, fight a guy, and score a goal all in once. It just doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
No, I didn't get dirty and hit guys, but I did it but a different way, but same idea.
Exactly.
We all have our thing. We all have our thing, right?
That's it. We all do.
There you go. Fly up and down the wing. It's all good. It's the same thing. Do whatever it is that got you there. That's all you need to know. When in doubt, think of Murph or Kevin Costner.
That's it. And then go to Belly Busters on the way home, and you're set.
You know bellies. You know bellies. You know what I'm talking
have
about.
Have you heard anything so stupid in your life? A gravy on the sandy?
Wait, you ever had a French dip sandwich before?
Yeah, like
dude,
seriously.
that's different. This guy, he had an assorted sub and asked for gravy on top of it.
A chicken. Have you ever had a chicken sandwich with gravy on it at Swiss Chalet growing up?
All day, man.
Of course I've. These guys don't know. You know what? Next time I come in, this establishment is 200 yards from my house.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop by. I'll get you a dip or and you could try it. I know it's not part of your diet, but we'll get you to try it.
Johnny, next week, me and Hayes will meet you there, and we'll
Done. We're going to Belly's. Done. We'll set it up. Done. I'm telling you, it's a life changer, man. It's a life changer. But
that's limp bread. You have limp bread. I want a stiff bread.
Man.
I want a stiff bread.
No. You want dewy, soft, pillowy, soft bread. You can sleep on it. Absolutely.
Fresh bread.
Freddie wants rock stiff bread.
I do.
He wants
2 day old.
Aisle, 2 weeks overdue, a little stiff.
Yeah. Not sloppy, like poutine. That's sloppy. Oh,
Dude, you don't like poutine now? Like,
no, I don't like the soft fries.
Like anyone, like the Western Canadians, they just have no idea how to live.
Got serious problems.
No idea how to live. You and Noodles, the same thing. Noodles just eats like dried chicken.
Here's what Noodles eats. He eats a chicken breast plain, cut up into little baby bites, corn.
It's awful.
And peas.
Yeah.
And rice.
That's it. Guy's like a polar bear. Like,
guys, I've
been in a kitchen that has no fish in it ever. I'm like, well, that's going to be hard.
Never.
Like, that's going to be tough.
I've been at dinner with Noodles, said, I'll take the Caesar salad, hold the Caesar. I swear those words came out of his mouth. And I just looked, because I'll take the croutons. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, is this guy serious?
Like grazing.
Well, what dressing is he putting on it?
Nothing.
Just
plain. Probably
plain
salt.
lettuce.
Rabbit food. Straight rabbit food.
Rabbit food. That is noodles. And
he's
man,
not in
he
great
gets
shape.
He gets so mad when, like, you don't blame the waitress for being like, sorry, can you say that again? He's like, I don't want anything. And they're like, okay, I guess we could ask for that sandwich to completely be reversed to nothing on it. Like, it is one of the more wild experiences to see him try to break down whatever the sandwich is supposed to be or whatever the meal is supposed to be on the menu that a chef has worked hard for. And Noodles just absolutely looks down on it. Completely looks down on it. It's so disappointing. All right, Johnny. Well, there we go. We got a date. We're gonna get out and we're gonna enlighten these people. Oh, in
Send me some
particular.
pictures.
I love it.
We will. We will.
Cannot wait. All right, boys.
All right,
Have a
Johnny.
good night.
Chat soon. There's Mike Johnson joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4 gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. Quickly, someone writing in here. Where is it? Brian sent me a message saying Dudley Hart is a member at Park Country Club in Williamsville, just outside of Buffalo.
He summers there, I think. I think he's a coach at like
I
Florida.
think he's at Florida. I think he's the Florida Gators men's coach. That's a serious golf program. And he
never
lost
recovered.
to
Yeah, but J.C. Deacon's the coach at Florida. I don't know how they could both.
I'm not sure. Maybe that's fake news. I don't know. Maybe we
Never
shouldn't be
recovered
listening.
from the loss to you, O-Doc.
Yeah,
Never got
spiraled out of control.
Send him to the Hooters tour.
Send him to the Hooters tour. All right, there you go. Okay, good stuff. Panel night. We'll catch you tonight on TSN 4.
You guys keep it on the rails.
We'll do our best. Strutter Dodd coming up. Strutter Dodd, Chris Knobloch, the head coach of the Oilers, coming up as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Boston trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, confirm or deny, also known as Strud or Dud. You can go either way, Struddy, whichever way you see fit. All right, whichever way you choose.
I gotcha.
Okay, you take it whichever way you want. Statements are made. We go around the table. We either confirm or deny them or strud or dud them, whichever way we want. Let's begin with what we're witnessing tonight. Winnipeg at home against Washington. Confirm or deny one of the Capitals or the Jets will be in the Cup final this year.
Oh. I'm going to say dud. I think that division that Winnipeg's in is really tough. It's a really, really tough one. And I don't know that the East is as strong, but I think there are other teams that are really going to challenge Washington when they get into it. So I'll take the field in this one. Hey, what do you got?
Yeah, I think it's a dud as well. It's like the two of them have been so good. I think I'm sleeping more on Washington in the playoffs. Like they're a big team. They're really well coached. They've been a well-oiled machine all year. Logan Thompson has been really, really good. Like they could do some damage. They really could do some damage, and it would not surprise me. I feel like this is a year Winnipeg's going to win in the first round, and I think put up a good fight against either Colorado or Dallas. But that's a coin flip. Like if you get into the second round and it's a coin flip, and I think you're playing either Vegas or Edmonton in the third round, that's a coin flip. That to me is just the odds are against it. The odds are against two of the 16 teams, albeit the best coming in. They've been great all year. I think it's a dud as well. I think playing the field makes sense. I think Dallas, Colorado, Vegas. You mentioned it. In the East, it's tough to get a read on right now, Struddy, and we'll get to this in a few moments here. But like Carolina's been good, but they don't really scare me. Jersey's really struggling right now. The Leafs have their demons. You know, like it's pretty wide open in the East right now.
It is, and there are some good teams there. But can Florida do it again? Right? They've played a lot of hockey recently. Then you've got suspension on the back end.
Ekblad out the first two games of the playoffs.
Yeah. Toronto hasn't done it. They haven't done it on a long period. Washington, I do love their size. They look so big when they're out there. The Devils, injuries. So I don't think that they can win without those two players, Hamilton and Hughes. then Carolina, I don't know that they're better after those trades.
Right.
Right,
exactly.
Usually at the trade deadline, you're trying to get better, and I'm not sure that they 100% got. If I had Mikko, I could say yeah, but now I'm not sure. Then all the teams fighting to get in, to the Sens or who are we looking at? Islanders,
the
or do they have
Habs or the
anything left?
Islanders. Yeah.
So that fight, I'm not. So I believe the strength is in the West.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But anyone could probably do it in the East. But I'm not. I don't know. I'm passing. I'm going to field.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. All right, confirm with that. Strud or dud? Let's stick with this. Strud or dud? Okay. Leon Draisaitl's injury has lost him the Hart Trophy.
Oh, I'm going to go that as a dud. Listen, the guy, last time I looked, I think it was 10 to 11 goals ahead of the next scorer.
Mm-hmm.
The problem for him, it's the timing of year.
Yes.
This is where people start to sharpen their pencils. Who steps up in these moments? Unfortunately for Leon, he has stepped up many times in these situations. And I think he would have continued to because he's been such an important player for the Oilers. The most important player for the Oilers has been Leon Draisaitl this year. Now, the flip side is someone else has to step up. So who's going to step up? Earlier we talked about Hellebuck. McKinnon's been good the whole time. I don't know who else in this conversation. Maybe McCarr, but he's taken two players off the same team.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with the dud. I think that Leon, I'm hoping he's back for the league-wise after this upcoming weekend. So that means he's missed 4 to 5 games. He still has a little bit of track to get going, inflate his totals, and hopefully take a run at another Hart Trophy.
Yeah, I know. I will say I want it to be dud because I think everything you just said is accurate. He still had, I think, as a skater, the best season anyone's had all year, McKinnon included. I think he's been phenomenal. You know it. You talk about it daily. The guy's been playing with different wingers almost every night. He's carrying these guys, like carrying the line. He's going to get back and get healthy and push 50. He's going to score more than 50, be the only guy in the league to do that. So I don't think it's fair, but I actually think it might be a strud because of what you said to start your answer, which is this is when the pencils start to get sharpened. Recency bias always factors in. It is a marathon, and that's the purpose of the award. It's what have you done all season long. But in reality, I think voters look at it and say, well, now I think like McKinnon's going to win the Art Ross now. McKinnon's going to finish with more points than Leon. I think that's safe to say. If he misses 3 or 4 more games and McKinnon's healthy and playing, I think the buffer is going to be too large. He will still win the Rocket. I think that's pretty much locked in. But with Hellebuck doing what he's doing, with McKinnon continuing to stay hot down the stretch, if the Colorado Avalanche can keep chasing Dallas, I just think that's an uphill battle. And as unfair as it seems, if he had this injury in November, it wouldn't cost him. But because it's happening at the end of the year, I feel like voters are going to take that into account, and it probably is going to end up hurting him. He'll still be one of the 3 nominees. He deserves to be. He's had a great, great year. But I'll believe it when I see it that he's back in a few games, Strud. Like, you know what it's like this time of year. Like, no one's ever 100% honest and accurate. No one even knows what's going on with the guy.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, he's banged up. We'll see what happens. Like, if he misses 5, 6, 7 more games, that's it. It's over.
Sure.
At that point.
And it's interesting to have 2 stars off the same team out at the same time.
Yeah,
like it's a fairly rare thing to happen. Think of that. Like when's the last time I ever saw McCarr and McKinnon both out, or McCarr and Rantanen?
Couldn't tell you, man.
Name your 2 top players off any team, right? Matthews
and Marner. They're always playing. Yeah, there's always one of them playing at a minimum.
Playing. Yeah,
you're right. It is a very unique situation in Edmonton right now. Strud or dud? Alex Ovechkin is proving he can and he should play at least 2 more seasons after this one.
I'm going to say it's stud because I think he probably can do it, but does he want to do it? And he's spoken in the past how he'd like to finish in the KHL. So I wonder if after he gets the record, does he say, okay, I'm good. Mm-hmm. And he goes back and plays home, which I understand. If I was playing in the Russian League and did really well, I'd maybe want to come home and play North America as well. So I think it's more about what he wants to do, whether he can do it. So I'm going dud.
Yeah, I will say I'm going to go with a strut on this because, like, this guy's going to finish with likely 40 goals. He broke his leg at one point, and he also, I think he's aware, like, how difficult this is going to be to catch him. I saw this week there was a website that was calculating the numbers, and there's 3 current players that they feel have a chance of actually catching Ovechkin, and it's Matthews, Draisaitl, and Pasternak. Those are the 3 guys. If they stay healthy and they play until they're 40 and they keep scoring at a certain pace, maybe they can catch them. It seems it seems like it's going to be very difficult. It almost seems impossible considering, Gretzky did this 25 years ago and Ovechkin miraculously has caught him. You need so many things to break your way. I wouldn't bet on any of those three guys actually doing it. But if I'm Ovi, I'm thinking, I want to pad my stats that much more, right? Which Gretzky did, right? Howe was at 801, I believe it was, and he got all the way to 894. He's like, I don't want to just beat this guy. I want to get way up on him. I'd be thinking the same thing with Ovi if I were Ovi. Also, you're in a great situation in Washington. They're a really good team. Like, they may win the President's Trophy. They're young. They got a lot of guys on great cap hits. They got a great farm system coming. So I hear what you're saying about Russia, but in reality, he could go there when he's 50 and they'll prop him up and play him. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the Jaromir Jagr situation back in Czechia. When Ovi decides I'm coming to play in the K, he'll be the captain, the face of the team. He'll be playing 20 minutes a night. They'll prop him up and he'll go out there and play. So I kind of hope he sticks around. And I think he should stick around because he's proving he can still do it. It's pretty incredible.
One more thing on Ovi. Sorry, I saw someone say that he's also going to be the all-time hit leader in the NHL.
Really?
That's what I read. Now, I didn't look it up myself, but that's what I read, that he'll be both.
I guess that makes sense, though, right? This guy, you remember, you played against him. When he came into the league, it was 13 shots, 11 hits, 2 goals. Like, the guy, he hit everything in sight when he showed up.
It's crazy. So, we talk about Brendan Shannon, how he would score and fight, Iginla, Tkachuk, all these guys. But for a guy that's scoring this much, and all those guys scored a lot. Like, I don't want to diminish what they did. But the fact that he's scoring and hitting, and I saw that and I could not believe it. To last that long, scoring and hitting at that pace.
Incredible.
Yeah,
it is. And you're right. I guess he's 300 hits off the pace, which that's a few years, right?
It'll take a bit.
Like that you're looking at maybe 150 hits a year. I don't know what his average would be. I think he's going to have to play 2 or 3 more years to get that. And that's not a record that is revered necessarily, but I think it's well respected by players, crazy. Right? Like, to your point,
crazy.
I think a lot of players would say this guy's going to score 900 goals and have more hits than anybody.
Yeah.
Like, that is crazy. What his resume is going to look like with 3 Harts. I think he won a Conn Smythe. Was it him or Holtby that won the Conn Smythe there? I think he won the Conn Smythe when they won the Cup. Conn Smythe, 3 Harts, like 7, 8 Rockets or whatever it is. Most goals, most hits. It's just an incredible career, man.
And arguably the best Stanley Cup celebration we've ever seen.
Yes.
Right? Like, he carried on for a while, and like any of us would have done. But he was first star.
Oh, yeah, man.
In that first star.
Remember him in the fountain in D.C., like swimming around in the fountain?
Loved it.
No
Absolutely
shirt.
loved it.
Like, it was just incredible. He did win the Conn Smythe that year. So, like, his resume, we talk about Sid a lot, and where does he end up on the Mount Rushmore? Does he push someone out? Is it him, Gordie Howe, him, Bobby Orr? Ovi's a top 10 player all time, in my opinion, already. I don't know where you stand on that, but like, should he be considered top 5? Like, can he? It's difficult with eras, and how do you compare Gordie Howe to Alex Ovechkin? But I don't know, man. Like, how many wingers are better than this guy ever in the history of the game?
The challenge is that it's hard to compare to players you didn't see.
Yeah.
But if players I've seen, he is right up there. Right? So, I mean, Mario Gretzky for sure. And I think, obviously Bobby Orr is there. I didn't see him play live, but I think those 3 are on everyone's list, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Then after that, it's like, okay, you've got, all these others amazing players, and the guy who scores the most goals ever.
Yeah.
How is he not in that group?
Right, exactly.
In the conversation.
Right.
Like, just think about that. We just, this guy, no, he scored the most goals ever in the NHL.
Has to be. Has to be.
For sure, top 10, and then where does he go after that? Now, the problem is if are there other players that if they played longer, could they have got closer? I get all those things, but the players I saw, him, Sid, Connor, incredible.
Yeah. No, it's exact. And there probably should be a line. Like, I don't know if it's post-expansion. I don't know if it's, whatever it is, in 1980. I mean, that's arbitrary. But maybe it's when Gretzky arrived. Like, maybe that's what it should be. When Gretzky showed up in, like, 79, 80, the last 50 years, he's absolutely in the top 10. I think he'd be in the top 5. But You're right. You got Messier, you got Lafleur, you got Richard, you got
Crazy.
Lidstrom, you got, Noodles would say Hasek should be in there and goalies. And,
Yeah, fair point.
all right, Chris Knobloch, head coach of the Oilers, in about 15 minutes. Strutter Dud will continue. Bunch of games on TSN tonight, including Leafs Flyers. We'll keep teeing that up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Strud, we've sent Al's brother out into the city with another pair of Leaf tickets, and you have to guess where he's hiding for your chance to win them. This is the second clue of the week. Big tickets, too. Leafs Panthers, big tickets.
Oh.
Let's hear from Al's brother.
Hey, Overdrive fans, happy Tuesday to you. I'm back with a new clue to help you get you one step closer to finding out where is Al's brother and land yourself a pair of Leafs and Panthers tickets for April 2nd. Here is your Tuesday clue. I'm saving up for my next cruise, so I'm looking for some free things to do in the city, and the spot that I'm in right now is a great place for me to visit, or any other Leafs fan for that matter.
Okay, I love it. Tune in tomorrow for another clue. And the first caller through on Friday with the correct location again wins a pair of tickets to see the Leafs take on the Panthers April 2nd. Find Al's brother, brought to you by McAlpine Ford in Aurora. Our family, the Ford family, and you. Full details at tsn1050.ca. Chris Knobloch coming up. This is big, Strud. This is big. You got to carry this one. Head coach of the Oilers. This is big.
I'll be ready. I'm a little nervous, but I'll be ready.
Okay, we're ready to go. The head coach of the Oilers coming up to start the 6 p.m. hour. We'll continue with some Strud or Dud. We might have a draft coming up in the 6 p.m. hour, and Leafs Flyers tonight. We'll continue to tee that up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.